Good afternoon, everybody. Today I'm chatting with Troy Boisjoli from ATHA Energy. In this interview, we discuss the current run in the price of uranium, the impact it could have on uranium equities, and the ultimate impact that the Sprott Physical Uranium Trust has had on the uranium market. We also discuss his new venture, ATHA Energy, which includes various of the team members from NexGen Energy, which is one of the most successful uranium stories in history. Troy also gets into the company's strategy to take the largest land position that any company has in the Athabasca Basin and convert it into a flagship resource. All right, everybody, enjoy the interview. Troy, it's the first time we've had you on, and for our viewers that aren't aware, you have an extensive history of working in the uranium sector, coming from names like NexGen Energy and Cameco, among others. So I have to ask, do you think that the uranium sector has finally reached a turning point? What's your assessment of what's going on right now with the uranium equities?
Yeah, uranium at a commodity level, extremely exciting. You know, we're climbing to highs here that haven't been seen in over a decade. And that's based off of some fundamentals leading into this cycle that are, I think, have been unparalleled through other cycles. Right. And, you know, a couple of those are, hey, nuclear, uranium obviously is the energy source for nuclear power. Nuclear power is is being viewed as a solution to net zero energy policies kind of globally. And there's a number of factors that are shaping up to be a very exciting part and time in this new uranium cycle.
Does it feel to you at all like uranium or I should say nuclear sentiment has really sort of turned the corner over the last couple of years where, say, 3 years ago, if you brought up nuclear energy, you would have been probably hit with a lot more resistance than you would be today?
Absolutely. You know, that's one of the things, Steve, that I pay very close attention to is public sentiment around the nuclear space. And the public sentiment has shifted over the last kind of 36 months, as you're indicating here. And I think there's becoming a realization of the material benefits of nuclear energy. You know, for instance, recently as this spring, you have a Hollywood director and Oliver Stone directing a documentary and producing a documentary on nuclear energy. And that's in addition to, all of the announcements at a policy level across, really globally. It starts in Canada, US, but globally.
In terms of the retail investor, many believe that a turning point in the uranium market was the launch of the Sprott Physical Uranium Trust. Do you think that this had a material impact on the market?
Yeah, well, hey, I think it was a catalyst at the time when it was an entry point, right? But now you're kind of getting down to, beyond the physical funds into real supply demand fundamentals, and there is a real supply gap that has emerged in the market that's been projected for a long time. That's coming to fruition right now. And so I think we've moved beyond just Sprott as a catalyst into the real catalyst, which is that supply demand gap moving forward.
So let's turn the discussion to your latest venture, ATHA Energy. And as we do with all new guests on the show, can you provide us with a high level overview of the company?
Yeah. Hey, from the highest level, we're a significant explorer in the Athabasca Basin. We're an exploration and development company focused in the Athabasca Basin, which, in my view, is the best uranium exploration and mining jurisdiction in the world for a number of factors. We are very well funded. We have a very strong capital markets team. We have a very strong technical team, and we have the largest land position by a couple X of any other exploration company in the Athabasca Basin. We have 3.4 million acres of exploration tenements in the Athabasca Basin.
I know I'm asking a question here that you probably may not want to go too deeply into because you're sort of tipping off some competitors, but how do you take such a large position in claims and actually convert that into a flagship resource?
Yeah, so it starts with the acquisition. You have to acquire ground in the right area, and we've done that. How ATHA came together is a couple guys that have a depth of experience across multiple cycles in acquiring land in the Athabasca Basin. They were foundational put the foundational assets together behind a company like ATHA Energy, which was discovered a deposit and was acquired in the last cycle. They also put the foundational assets together for a company called NexGen and Energy, which uranium people will understand well. And then after that, set to work acquiring a land package across the Athabasca Basin over the past kind of decade, really. And so it starts with the land position. And then from there, you take a systematic approach to exploration. You evaluate the entirety of the land package. You filter down to your highest priority targets. In doing so, you reduce uncertainty, increase probability of that target generation, and then set to work drilling.
So do you guys have any plans to option out these properties that are less of a focus, or is the goal here to really just go out and find that sort of flagship project through your exploration?
Yeah, so our main objective is discovery. We have exploration as a business is about probability, and probability increase with scale. And so that's foundational to our exploration process. It's leveraging our land position and getting down to our highest priority, as you call it, flagship projects within that land position through a systematic exploration process. But in turn, we've also taken the opportunity, as recently as a couple months ago, to option out about 530,000 acres of ground to a company called Stallion Discoveries. They made a commitment to a $12 million exploration expenditure over 60 months to earn into 70% of that property. And so, the land position that we have has a high probability for discovery, but it also provides us with significant optionality moving into a higher uranium price environment.
So let's talk about geology for a second, your background.
Yeah.
A question that our editor, Jay, was asking you before, and I thought I'd bring it up again, is why is it that the Athabasca Basin largely has explorers focused on what appears to be an outer ring?
Hey, historically, that was that's a function of just depth on conformity. The deposits in the basin typically are localized around deep-seated structural corridors. The most prolific one historically has been the Wollaston Majatic, which, when you look from the south, has Key Lake, and in the north has the Rabbit Lake Collins Bay deposits, and kind of a MacArthur cigar around that. So it's just been driven by exploration along that corridor has been driven by success, but it's also been driven by depth. And with modern exploration techniques, with innovations in mining practices that are being brought into the basin, specifically ISR, or in situ recovery, that opens up exploration corridors deeper into the basin for exploration and discovery with the real potential for extraction.
Do you suspect that mineralization is higher on the outer ring, or is it believed to be similar throughout?
My view is that the probability for discovery is not a function of depth. It is tied to these prospective corridors throughout the Athabasca Basin and the underlying geology. The reason that I think the reason that you don't see more deposits further into the basin is purely a function of exploration maturity. There just simply has not been that much exploration done historically within those areas.
So something we have to ask you about, a relatively sort of new issuer here. What can you tell us about the cap table or the current investors in ATHA Energy that shareholders would probably like to know about?
Yeah. So, hey, we've got a really strong cash position. We've got a really strong cap table. Okay. And we've got 126 million shares outstanding. That was done through a couple small insider rounds funding upon getting listing, and then the bulk of the funding came through around a dollar round at $33.7 million that was raised at $1 on the go live round. So we have 126 outstanding. We have 7 million options and no warrants. And those options are all insiders and officers. And they're at $1.44 and $1.34. So we have no warrants. We have a very strong cash position. And, of that $33.7 million raised, that was done through 6 institutions and 2 family offices. Those are long-only uranium equity funds.
So last question for you here. If investors are watching this story, what should they be watching for over the remainder of the year in terms of milestones, timelines? What should they expect?
Yeah, hey, we stood up currently we have 7 helicopters flying. That's a lot of helicopters. We're conducting the largest ever multi-platform electromagnetic survey, or EM survey, in the Athabasca Basin. We literally have terabytes of data rolling in as we speak. And our intention is to be able to continuously communicate how those surveys are coming in, the results of those surveys, as we continue on our exploration process, which is ultimately leading to drilling and drill programs in 2024. And in addition to that, our strategy also includes looking at opportunities throughout the basin and continuing to evaluate opportunities to consolidate certain pieces of the basin, increase our land position in areas that we like, and look for that as well.
And well, Troy, thanks so much for hopping on here, and please keep coming on as the story evolves, and we can get updates as there's material events that happens within the company.
Excellent, Steve. Appreciate the opportunity.
All right, everybody. Thank you for watching. If you could do me a big favor, please smash that like button, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Also, let us know what you think in the comment section. All right. Thanks, everybody.